which seemed to be an eternity, until finally I slowly sat up. I turned to look at the same stranger in the mirror. Then I looked at the monster. I jumped completely out of the bed and hit the floor in pure shock. The monster was gone. He had been replaced. I could not breathe. It did not matter how hard I tried. I could not, without a shadow of a doubt, tell you if any of what I was seeing or feeling was real or something I conjured up in my mind. For a brief moment, I actually saw myself in my prime. My skin had color and light shining from it. My blonde hair was long and was given life as if bleach had never touched it. There was not one wrinkle on my face, and teeth were white as snow. I began to smile, and a small twinge fluttered in my stomach. Nevertheless, as quick as it came, it had gone. Just then I realized the fairy tale I just experienced was not my happily ever after. My husband was not going to run into the room carrying roses and a ring, professing his undying love to me. Unfortunate as everything seemed, this was my nightmare. The nightmare brought from deepest part of my mind, which manifested from the seeds planted by the very one whom I thought loved me unconditionally, who really would never have left my side and would stand by me when no one else would. But as I slowly walked towards the monster, I began to look deep into his eyes. The harder I stared, I could see the evil radiating from every orifice. His grin was more of an evil smirk, gloating from his most recent victory over my life. As I slowly, with grace poised and my frail head raised high, I approached the monster. The closer I got, the more the monster began to change shape. I slowly would cock my head from side to side, trying to wrap my head around what was truly going on. Finally, the image, which was once the monster, was a monster, but not one I really recognized. This is the point I finally have gone completely insane. All reality has changed to fantasy. The one person I never thought would be behind the monster, who planted the seeds and grew the garden of destruction in my soul, was me. I'm the one causing all the pain, doubt, and mindful torment as everyone I thought loved me sat on the sidelines and watched me just slowly self-destruct. Each and every one at one point or another played puppet master in the play I call my life. I stood breathless, unable to speak or even scream. I knew all along, but could not prove it without a shadow of a doubt. The phrase the monster once said to me, which haunts me every waking moment, before the garden ever had its first seed planted, was, "Deny, deny, deny, lie, lie, lie." As my head began to shake back and forth again, trying to wake from my own living nightmare, I realized I was all alone. No one else was here. The monster has stolen everything from me. In one way or another, bit by bit, piece by piece. There's no way I could possibly get my life back. I have passed the point of no return. I still stand staring into the mirror with amazement. I am still not positive what the drugs manifested, or if the monster acted alone, and the drugs had no interaction at all. I walked back over to the nightstand, and the monster emerged. He reached down and partook in the white powdery substance along with me. The evil grin slowly creeped back over his face. I knew I saw a brief second of love in his eyes, but quickly darkened, suffocated the light. He begins mocking me, laughing out loud, a laugh which made my eardrums want to explode. I cannot control what smidge of emotion I have left. I scream another childlike scream, along with kicking and swinging my arms. I could not stand the feeling which has come over me, dazed and confused by the achy, nagging pain of not having the drugs and the pain of defeat, along with the shame of becoming someone who I swore I would never become. I finally realized the outcome of this game, and it was inevitable. The total destruction of my being. At this point, no matter what strategy I used, the ending will not change. As I lifted my eyes towards the monster, I noticed his eyes begin to soften. Then the grin creeped back over his face. He is now taunting me. He is pushing me past my breaking point till I will be unable to turn back. I was lost. As what was left of my mind began to spin in anguish and torture, the rage started swelling deep within the pit of my stomach until it is exploding from my eyes with flaming tears. My mouth opens wide, but I cannot utter a sound. I lose control of every body part and sense God gave me. I knew I should stop and attempt to regain control, but it was inevitable. Since the monster has taken my security, trust, and self esteem, my sanity went parallel with them all. Uncontrollable movements and sounds continue to explode from every square inch of my aura. The monster grins, his same evil grin, knowing where each scream, kick, and lashing out was stemming from. His grin widens, his laugh becomes a haunting rise, coming straight from the pits of hell. Not any hell, but my own. He knows he has planted each seed and fed while he watched the garden grow until it consumed my very soul. My life source, my sanity, is all gone. As I slowly walked back over towards my nightstand, my mind started to become clear again. I looked all around my bedroom, taking in every single inch. I breathed a sigh of exhaustion. I finally knew the answer to the ultimate question. I turned to face the monster. This was my final stand. I reached deeper than I ever had, deep within, to gather enough strength to finally say, "You have consumed me. You took my very life source. You took my love, trust, security, and self-worth. But the one thing you could not and cannot take is my free will. No one can take my free will away from me. But you win." I reached into my nightstand drawer, pulled out my 9mm pistol, pressed the cold metal barrel with direct contact to my temple. I gently placed my index finger on the trigger. The monster's grin turns into a straight line. As his grin begins to change, and so does his facial features, I gently squeeze the trigger. A loud "pow!" echoed, and the bullet makes its way through the chamber and cores a direct path through my meth-coated brain, exiting the back of my skull. I felt a sense of peace I have not felt in years, a calming effect I will never begin to explain. I finally felt the rush of chaos leaving my body, and all of the uncertainty was finally over. As the gun slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, my lifeless body followed. Before my eyes closed for their final time, I seen the monster from in his true form. I was in shock to see the monster was not a drug or any member of my family, not even my husband. To my surprise, but deep down I knew, the monster who planted the garden and was there through the entire destruction of my life was me. Free will gave me the power to start my journey with drugs, along with a life of crime, and in the end, free will finally ended it and put the monster back in the pit of hell in a drug-induced. Welcome to Between the Lines. I'm your host, Beverly, and what you were just listening to was the gut-wrenching, mind-bending ending of The Garden, which is a short story that I wrote, which is available on Amazon and Kindle. And it probably left you wondering, what was real? What was that? Was she really crazy? I mean, was really the drug-induced meth brain really that bad? But what I'm going to do is introduce you to a continuation of The Garden, and it's called Twisted Bloom. It's going to center around Sabri, the same little lady that was spiraling into drug-induced psychosis, and you're going to realize that she's going to wake up and realize that, that was just a bad dream. She just had a nightmare. She didn't kill herself. She feels her head. Everything's great. She's get her wits together, and she's okay. Well, Now, she's still spiraling in this drug induced psychosis. That has not changed. So, that alone is heavy, right? But where it's going to get really interesting is when the monster comes back into her life. And she realizes that she, she needs him, that he's becoming her companion, part of her. Now, she's going to be portraying as disorienting, terrifying, sometimes even surprisingly lucid moments of this psychosis. But you're going to feel her fear, her confusion, but also her desperation and yearning for a connection with anyone. And then that's where the monster is going to come in. Now, like I said, the monster is not your typical, fluffy bunny or wise wizard. No, he is the glowing eyes and the radiant teeth menace. Just, ugh. But remember, the monster is truly a figment of Sarah's tormented mind. It's a manifestation of her darkest fears and desires. So, but is there? Is there not something for a little bit more to him? I mean, because the book's going to give you a clear answer, and that's what makes it so compelling, because the evolution of their relationship, Sabri and the monster, is mind blowing, really, because what it's doing is a symbol of Sabri's deteriorating mental state, is what the monster truly is. But he also becomes her anchor. He's the one that's constant in a world that is constantly shifting, distorting, and betraying her. He listens to her when no one else will. No one else even know she exists. But he offers her a strange form of protection, even if the protection is from the very demons that he embodies. Now, it's not romantic in a conversational sense. Um, it's born out of desperation, isolation, and a profound need of understanding. But Sabri's going to fall for the monster because he sees her as she truly is, in a way that no one else does, that no one in her real life seems to be capable of doing. He accepts her madness, her terror, her vulnerability, without judgment, in her fractured reality. He's the only one who's real, solid, and safe. So, as we begin the journey in Twisted Bloom, um, I want you to kind of be thinking about these questions. Can love really exist in a mind that's not entirely sane? Is the love between Sabri and the monster any less valid just because one of them isn't real? It's going to challenge your perceived notion of what a relationship should be and what constitutes reality and the nature of mental illness. Okay? Even if you actually are aware of the tragic circumstances of their bond, it's going to make you think and compare other people's relationship, if not your own, to Sabri and the monsters in one aspect or another. It's going to also question the boundaries between sanity and madness in the powerful, sometimes terrifying landscapes of the human psyche. So come on back next week where we'll dive in and begin the journey of Sabri and the monster and just see how their relationship comes to bloom. And we'll see how it turns out. We'll see you next time.